in what is expected to be a cracker.
This is Angelino! Angelino! This man is red hot!
From 10:45 p.m. Don't miss these exciting games live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Good evening there. Thank you for joining us. This is Channel 1 News Hour. Well, it is the third day of March 2021 and we have so much in store for you. For now, we'll start with the highlights.
On matters to do with Constitution, there should be no competition because the Constitution belongs to every Kenyan.
Deputy President William Ruto maintains there is no urgency in reviewing the Constitution. IBC confirms all is in place for Thursday's parliamentary and ward by-elections.
What we have received here is equivalent, metaphorically speaking, to acquisition of machine guns, bazookas, and tanks to fight this war against COVID-19.
And Kenya finally receives the first batch of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Well, thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. My name is Jacky, Wambiru. Well, remember you can interact with us on our Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1 or at Jacky Wambiru. Now, to kick us off, Deputy President William Ruto has said there is no urgency in the review of the Constitution. Ruto, who was speaking in Narok West constituency in Narok County, said he will not succumb to pressure to engage in a race that risks dividing the country. This even as ODM leader Raila Odinga continued with his whirlwind tour of the coast region, where while Malindi claimed that the BBI train was unstoppable given the response it received from county assemblies.
Deputy President William Ruto was in Narok in a bid to solidify his 2022 support base in the region. Here, Ruto took a swipe to those pressuring him to declare his stance on the BBI question, saying the country has more pressing issues than the much-talked referendum. The Deputy President saying he will not bow to pressure to engage in a race that risks dividing the country. He said that there was no need for a contested referendum on the Building Bridges initiative, adding that Parliament should debate and remove contentious issues in the report.
It is possible to have a non-contested referendum. I want to tell our friends, if they are looking for a competition, let them wait for 2022. We will have a competition. On matters to do with Constitution, there should be no competition because the Constitution belongs to every Kenyan.
The politics of deceit must come to an end in this republic. We want to ensure, lazima tuhakikishe ya kwamba ile Biblia inasema kama kusema ndio, sema ndio. Kama ni kusema la, sema la.
Migawanyiko Kenya hii tunaambia poleni sana, hatuko kwa hiyo agenda. We should not drive a wedge between communities and with leaders.
Mgao wa mali na rasilimali ya Kenya lazima ianzie chini hapa mashinani kwa mwananchi wa Kenya. Nyinyi ambaye mnatufanyia kesi na sarakasi na kutuchekelea kwamba tunazungumza mambo ya wheelbarrow, sisi tunawaambia mwaka ujao, kama unadharau kazi yetu ya wheelbarrow, hata sisi hiyo yako ya president, ya MP, ya kitu gani, wakati itafika wakati wa kura, tutapambana na wewe.
Kina mama wako hapa, wana hustle usiku na mchana, lakini bila kupigwa jek, hawatafika mahali.
But political adversary, ODM leader Raila Odinga, was in Malindi, Kilifi, drumming up support for the document. Raila saying the anticipated constitutional changes are unstoppable. While urging the locals to support BBI, Raila claimed the review of the constitution will address historical injustice and two-third gender rule, among other issues.
Nyinyi kama wakaji wa pwani mnaunga hii mkono, manake hii itakuwa ni mkombozi. Itakuwa ni ukombozi wa tatu wa taifa letu la Kenya. Tukishikana pamoja, tumeungana pamoja. Ama sivyo?
Hakuna chama, hakuna nini, ni vyama vya kitaifa ambavyo viko vinakuja pamoja kwa mwavuli mmoja kumiliki ngome yao. Ni dhambi kwa Mungu hii.
Huyu Amason Kingi ni rafiki yangu sana. Sasa yeye nataka kuja juu. Awache kucheza kwa ligi ya county. Acheze kwa ligi ya kitaifa. Ama si vizuri mbaya. Sasa ile ambayo mimi nataka kuacha, natafuta watu wanibawashie, anataka kutoroka. Anaongeje mambo ya kali asili na yeye amekuwa ODM haki yote.
In Machakos, the new kid in the block, the United Democratic Alliance Party, has unveiled its campaign vehicles for its candidate Abanas Mudhama Ngengele in the county's senatorial race. UDA chairman Johnston Mudhama alleging that the Kalonzo Musyoka-led Wiper Party was using government machineries to campaign for its candidate Agnes Kavindu.
Ma-DC wa sub-counties za Machakos 8 wakiwa wanaitia candidate wa Wiper mikutano, na mikutano inafanyika katika makao makuu ya uongozi wa mkuu wa sub-county, na pesa zinapeanwa pale.
In other news, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has identified a new tallying center for tomorrow's Kabuchai by-elections. IEBC Commissioner Ali Suru says the change of the tallying location was arrived at following the ban of strangers in schools owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. This as the electoral body writes to flower firms in Naivasha to allow their workers to participate in the hotly contested Hell's Gate ward by-election slated for Thursday.
It's all systems go for the Kabuchai by-election this Thursday, with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission putting its arms in order for the much-awaited race. IEBC Commissioner Ali Sura says the commission has changed the tallying center from Nalondo Boys High School to Mabanga Agricultural Institute following the Ministry of Education directive that all schools are out of bounds for any strangers in a bid to curb the spread of the coronavirus.
We are only left with the actual balloting and final tallying and declaration of results. All other preliminary processes preceding the voting are concluded.
Speaking after dispatching materials to various polling stations, Sura urged the electorate to ensure they follow public health regulations while exercising their rights of voting a candidate of their choice. Kabuchai has 57,640 voters with 224 polling stations. Meanwhile, IEBC has written to flower farms in Naivasha to allow their workers to participate in the Hell's Gate ward by-elections tomorrow. According to returning officer David Mbui, they have received all the required paperwork and materials for the ward that has over 24,000 registered voters and 41 polling stations.
The materials are here, including the ballot papers. We have arranged them, so we're just waiting for the POs in the afternoon to come and pick the materials.
Naomba Mungu sana. Unajua mtu huwa anajiombea, naomba Mungu sana ushindi tu, na najitakia ushindi. Na kama sitapata, mimi nitakubali tu.
In the meantime, all is set for Kamakama ward by-elections in Kisii County, with the electoral body saying it was ready to handle the over 10,000 registered voters in 22 polling stations in tomorrow's exercise.
We have also managed to make arrangements with the relevant polling stations. They'll be covered in terms of water. We'll have sufficient water availed in all the polling stations. So voters will have to sanitize, they'll have to wash their hands before they proceed.
IBC has in meanwhile selected 18th May 2021 as the date for Garissa senatorial by-election, Bonchari and Juja parliamentary by-election, and Nyandarwa's Ruri County Assembly ward by-election. Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Now let's take a look at matters emerging courtesy of the COVID-19. Kenya on Tuesday received the first consignment of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, taking the fight against COVID-19 disease a notch higher. Now, held Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, who was speaking from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport when the batch of 1.02 million doses of the vaccine arrived, said that Kenya had been fighting the COVID war with rubber bullets, but with the vaccine, it now has the equivalent of machine guns. He, however, warned that the fight was not over and urged Kenyans not to drop their guard in observing the COVID-19 protocols. Frontline health workers will be the first beneficiaries of the vaccine. Purity Museo has more details.
The Qatar Airways plane flight QR1341 ferrying Kenya's first batch of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine touched down at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport at 11:50 p.m. East African time, making Kenya the 5th African country to receive the jab through the WHO-backed COVID-19 Global Access Initiative COVAX. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, flanked by Transport CS James Macharia and World Health Organization representative Dr. Rudy Eggers, among other government officials, were there to receive the vaccine.
We've been fighting COVID-19, we've been fighting this virus, but we have been fighting it with rubber bullets. But this time round, what we have received here is equivalent, metaphorically speaking, to acquisition of machine guns, bazookas, and tanks to fight this war against COVID-19.
I must congratulate this team for this historic moment. In the Ministry of Transport, we would like to support the Ministry of Health in terms of transport and logistics.
The jabs were moved to a secure location at JKIA before transfer to Kenya's Central Vaccine Depot in Kitengela, from where they will be distributed to 8 other depots and vaccination centers across the country. Kagwe said the arrival of the vaccine was a game changer in the fight against the deadly COVID-19 disease and stated unequivocally that frontline workers will be the first beneficiaries of the vaccine.
We are starting with our health workers. Kenya has approximately 400,000 health workers in the country. After that, we are going to roll out to other frontline workers. We have got the police, we have got the teachers and other people. After that, we are going to go to people with comorbidities, people who have got other infectious people who have got other diseases, so that we can also protect them. And only then are we then going to start rolling it out to the rest of the population.
He said the jabs will be voluntarily administered to Kenyans, calling for cooperation from the county governments. The CS added that the war against coronavirus was not over and urged Kenyans not to drop their guards.
But the war is not over. We are in the middle of the pandemic. That is why we have got the vaccines here. So we would like to continue on this fight. And we want you to continue with the support that you have given us.
Kagwe thanked UNICEF and the WHO for working with Kenya to make the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine available. Other countries that have so far received their doses from COVAX are Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Angola. The COVAX scheme hopes to deliver more than 2 billion doses to people in 190 countries in less than a year. A historic moment it is for the country. This plane, Qatar Airways QR 1341, has delivered the much-anticipated 1.2 million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines. And for once, the country is fighting this battle against COVID-19 using the right weapon. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News at JKIA, Nairobi.
Still on the same, Kenya received its first batch of more than 1 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines last night. The country Wednesday recorded 331 positive cases out of a sample of 4,725 tested in the last 24 hours. The new infections bringing to 106,801 total country's caseload. Now, 3 more people succumbed to the disease, bringing the total death toll to 1,866. During the same period, 54 patients made full recovery from the disease, 44 from home-based isolation care, and 10 from various health facilities, bringing the total recoveries to 86,914. Our President Uhuru Kenyatta has underscored the importance of countries working together for the common good of humanity. Speaking while receiving credentials from 3 new envoys posted to Kenya, the head of state said through international partnerships and global solidarity, nations are able to serve their citizens much better.
Forward to working together. Welcome to Nairobi.
President Uhuru Kenyatta on Wednesday at State House, Nairobi, received credentials from 3 new envoys recently posted to Kenya. The envoys are Ambassador Patel Vizcat of Belarus, High Commissioners Hassan Waswa Galiwango and Miniwa Johannes Mhalango of Uganda and South Africa, respectively. The envoys assured the head of state of their commitment to continue strengthening bilateral ties between Kenya and their respective countries. The president reiterating the importance of countries working together for the common good of humanity. The new envoys pledged to work with the government and the people of Kenya towards realization of the country's Big Four development agenda through trade and support of productive sectors such as agriculture. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Badi.
And on to the corridors of justice, the High Court in Milimani has extended orders stopping Nairobi City County from increasing parking fees for private vehicles from 200 to 400 shillings. Justice Anthony Mrema also extended orders barring the county government from increasing seasonal fees for public service vehicles. Consumer Federation of Kenya and Matatu Owners Association had objected the increment of parking fees, claiming it was unfair, unreasonable, exorbitant and lacked public participation.
Motorists in the capital city can now breathe a sigh of relief after the High Court declined to issue orders allowing Nairobi City County to increase parking fees. Consumer Federation of Kenya and Matatu Owners Association had contested the notice issued last year, stating parking fees would double from 200 shillings to 400 shillings for personal cars, while Matatus would part with 1,000 shillings daily. COFEX, citing lack of public participation before the decision was made, argued the new levies would financially hurt consumers seeking transport and parking services within the Central Business District. The temporary order will be in place until April the 21st, 2021, when the case will be heard. Elsewhere, a woman has been released on a 5 million shillings bond after denying defrauding a Chinese national of 36 million shillings in a land transaction. Hadija Asif Bat denied swindling Molu Halkano by falsely pretending that she was in a position to sell him a 1-acre piece of land in Karen, a fact she knew was false. It is alleged that she obtained the money between September 2014 and December 2016. The case will be mentioned on the 16th of this month. For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troinjue.
That report brings us to a short break here on Channel 1 News Hour. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea, unasema unione. Si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona.
Yoi.
Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Unaweka paybill number 4032353. Kisha unakelea account number ya Nissan Note ni Note, N-O-T-E. Namba ambayo unapenda, labda unapenda 100, labda unapenda 200. Wekelea Note 100, Note 200. Alafu tutakuitisha shilingi 40 peke yake, 40 bob only. Weka pin yako, utakuwa umekelea bid ya hii Nissan Note. Inakungoja wewe mahali popote ulipo. Mimi na mtumishi tutakupea.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya Aero uko sure kwa simu yako, bonyeza alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 967 alama ya reli.
Aero kijana, ni mimi ulikuwa unatuangia hii simu ama ulikuwa umeconfuse? Fanya hivi ndio nijue uko sure. Kwanza kata hii simu, alafu uangalia kama ni mimi ulikuwa unapigia. Kama ni mimi upigie tena na tangoja. Usikawie, ninakungoja hapa nikichunga.
Ukitaka kupata skiza hii, bonyeza alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 967 alama ya reli. Alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 967 alama ya reli.
On the next episode of Ashoka.
Ashoka, I am proud of the fact that you have overcome all the hurdles and fulfilled your mission of winning over Takshashila.
No, Father. Not yet. There is still one task left.
So isn't brother a ruler? Ruler Ashok!
Next on.
SMS zimejaa hapa kutoka juu mpaka chini, hakuna maandiko.
Nikuulize Pablo.
Hiyo simu hata nikwambie nitavunja.
Utavunja?
Nimeboeka sana bana.
Tafadhali hebu achana na hiyo simu kwanza.
Ngoja kidogo kwa.
Mambo si msazi.
Utangoja nimalize simu yangu ama nikudumie? Kuna hospitali jirani huko unaweza enda. Na wewe umetoka kula takataka unakuja kuniletea hapa.
Unajua? Saturday yaandikangu hivyo.
Ni nini wewe? Kwani unasoma message zangu?
Uniungwana kweli? Nauliza tabia kama hizo, haswa nyinyi wadaku wa kuangalia simu za watu na kusikiliza maneno ya watu wanavyozungumza kwa simu, ni ungwana?
Welcome back. Now, let's take a look at matters by-election where the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says all is set for Thursday's parliamentary by-election in MATUNGU constituency in Kakamega County. Now, IEBC says enough security agents have been deployed to the 116 polling stations and mini-poll will be conducted in strict adherence to COVID-19 prevention protocols. MATUNGU constituency has 62,386 registered voters.
At Bulimbo Primary School in MATUNGU constituency, Kakamega County, the tallying center for Thursday's parliamentary by-election. Men in uniform all over the compound, an indication of tight security ahead of the vote. Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission poll officials are also ready for the exercise. Returning Officer John KITUI exuding confidence. A total of 116 polling stations will be used for the exercise and voting will be conducted in strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols.
I want to say that we are fully prepared. Our poll officials are already here. Our security officers are already here. We are having one presiding officer per one station.
15 candidates will contest the seat left vacant after the death of Justice Murunga in November last year. They include one of Murunga's widow, Christabel Amunga, and his son, Eugene Murunga Ambwere, who are independent candidates. Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi has alleged a plot by the Kakamega County government to compromise the electoral process.
We want the IEBC to take corrective action immediately, because it is so obvious that the governor has been at the center and the forefront, Governor of Kakamega, in campaigning for the ODM candidate. So any of his officials being involved directly in the process of managing the elections in Kakamega or in MATUNGU in particular, then is out of line. It's a breach.
But IEBC maintains the exercise will be conducted in accordance with the law and that the will of the people will prevail. Other aspirants are Peter Nabulindo of ANC, David Were of ODM, Alex Lanya of UDA, Charles Kasamani of UDP, Paul Achayo of MDG, Faida Auma of Maendeleo Chapchap, independent candidates Bernard Wakoli, Gregory Atoko, Kevin Nectas, Wilberforce Luta, Atman Wangara, and Zelimo Kongoti, and Samuel Munyakenye.
Napenda kuhimiza watu wangu Kakamega County, haswa watu wa Matungu, kesho tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu tuwe na uchaguzi wa amani, kwa sababu tu ni siku moja ya uchaguzi alafu tunabaki kuwa kama kaunti moja. Singependa mtu yoyote aingie kwa masuala ya ghasia. Ningependa askari na polisi ambao wameletwa hapa wahakikishe kwamba tunafanya kura ya amani.
Following the closure of campaign activities on Monday, all look set for tomorrow's big event as voters in Matungu constituency head to the mini polls to elect their next representative at the National Assembly as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission continues its call for peace. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Bulimbo Primary School in Matungu constituency, Kakamega County, I'm Wycliffe Okech.
Now, away from the upcoming by-elections, the Media Council of Kenya board member Tabitha Mutemi has survived an attempt to remove her from the council on the basis of illegality for a civil servant to hold two public offices. Mutemi, who is also the corporate communications manager at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the National Assembly's Information, Communication and Innovation Committee ruled that the council's chief executive officer David Omoyo had not followed the due process in seeking her ouster. The proceedings were, however, thrown into disarray over lack of legal opinion on whether the council is a public or professional entity.
Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Information, Communication and Innovation, embattled Media Council of Kenya board member Tabitha Mutemi, alongside her lawyer Kathy Kilonzo, claimed she was legally right to be a part-time MCK board member, while at the same time holding her corporate affairs manager position at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Okay, we still have an issue. We are still now debating between an issue public office and not public office. Did you inform your employer after being gazetted as a board member for Media Council of Kenya? Did you?
Yes, I did inform the chair. I also informed the CEO, and I informed the commissioners that I'm in the board. But being in the board has never affected the performance of my work at IBC.
The complainant, through her lawyer, claiming that an opinion sought from the Office of Attorney General on her holding of the two offices had cleared her.
The Solicitor General is writing this letter, paragraph 5, and saying that members of the council are public officers because of section 16 of the Media Council Act. The Attorney General was before 3 judges of the High Court saying the opposite.
But it was at this point that the Office of the Attorney General was put on the spot for lack of clarity on whether or not MCK is a public office, with the absence of the purported letter of the AG's opinion further throwing the sitting into confusion.
Where is that opinion? We are looking at it. We are looking to get it from the committee. We haven't gotten. You are referring to it. The Solicitor General is talking of it is not seen.
Our position is that on this specific issue, and the specific issue here is whether an employee of IBC can hold another public office. we have issued only one opinion, and it is the opinion dated the 18th of August 2020.
MCK Chief Executive Officer David Omoyo defended his position on the illegality of Tabitha's appointment and accused the selection panel of failing to notice it.
And I notified the chair that I cannot continue paying, inviting and paying based on the opinion from Attorney General which had been transmitted to me. And I had not known. Normally the member would communicate. I was, from that level, I was blacked out. I saw the member continuing. So I said I was, in a way, recusing myself from dealing with the matter of the member who has received communication and continued.
The committee termed the attempted ouster as unprocedural, as it neither officially communicated the decision to Tabitha, nor did it follow due process to degazette the appointment. The committee will seek the Attorney General's clarification on legal queries in the matter. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
In other news, senators are raising the red flag over what they term is a worrying trend in the country, where a large number of children are being subjected to various forms of abuse and maltreatment. Led by nominated Senator Sylvia Kasanga, the legislators now want the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare to within 20 days interrogate the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection on mechanisms put in place towards prevention and addressing cases of abuse against children in the country.
With many children facing betrayal from family and community members charged with the responsibility of protecting and loving them, senators want immediate action taken over the rising cases of children being exposed to various forms of abuse and maltreatment, including physical and psychological abuse, sexual abuse and child labor.
You find that there are some children who are out of school, not because of their own accord, but because they've been forced into marriages, Honorable Speaker. Some of them have even been forced into working so that they can provide for families where families are not economically endowed.
A line must be drawn between the abuse, which is the caning, which is the sexual harassment, which is the deprivation of opportunities for our children, and legitimate processes of bringing up our children to be responsible members of society.
The lawmakers also want the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection to shed more light on mechanisms it has in place to identify children at risk of abuse and maltreatment, status of all convictions and progress made in rehabilitating victims, and sensitizing members of the public against the vice.
Many children think violence is to be tolerated. More than half girls, 50%, and almost half boys, 47%, aged between 13 and 17, indicated that it was acceptable for a husband to beat his wife.
The mindset that we are instilling on our children as parents is not right for them to grow up as responsible citizens in this country, where a child grows up believing that they should never be questioned, whatever it is that they want to do.
The concerns were raised via a statement on the abuse and maltreatment of children issued on Wednesday afternoon by nominated Senator Sylvia Kasanga. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
As the world celebrates World Wildlife Day, Nashulai Conservancy within the Mara ecosystem is slowly transforming lives. According to the Conservancy's Chief Executive Officer Nelson Olereya, the Conservancy has been working closely with the locals to conserve wildlife and minimize cases of human-world conflict, while at the same time empowering them through conserving the environment. Our reporter Emily Kay has more details.
Nashulai Conservancy within the Mara ecosystem has been a blessing for the Maasai community living in the area. The Conservancy, which was recognized for its effort to conserving the environment during the 75th session of the United General Assembly late last year, has integrated the communities as part of efforts aimed at reducing cases of human-wildlife conflict in the area. For Caroline Kiok, her life has never been the same again since she became a member of the Conservancy.
Mesaidia communities mingi, members na non-members, Kwa hivyo tumepata chakula, tumepata kuwezeshwa kwa kila jambo.
The Conservancy has empowered her and a few other women by teaching them how to make beads, water soap, among other things. The women have also been given poultry, which serves as an alternative means of earning income.
Tunatengeneza shanga, tuko na mashuka yetu ya kuuza, pia tumeweza kutengeneza vitu kama sanitizer.
According to the Conservancy's Chief Executive Officer, CEO Nelson Olereya, the Conservancy uses a mixed conservation model where the community conserves the environment while at the same time coexist peacefully with the wildlife.
So we have found a mixed-use conservation model where the community continue to live on the land and to share it with wildlife. And it is working very, very well.
Nadutali Tingisha, another member, said she has been able to feed her family during the corona season because of the alternative livelihood thanks to the Conservancy.
Naona nimesaidika sana. Nimepata chakula wakati watoto naenda shule, hajapata shida wakati nilikuwa watoto nimerudi shule, wakati nanapatia pesa. Naona shule imesaidika sana wa mama.
The Conservancy is among 17 conservancies in the Mara that use a traditional way of managing the wildlife to minimize cases of wild-human conflict. James Olesindio, Chief Warden Masai Mara, lauded the government for the launch of the 5-year management plan for the conservancies, saying it will go a long way in conserving the game reserve.
It's supposed to be a five-year management plan that will govern or that will guide the community, the Maasai community, in protecting the wildlife plus the habitat outside the reserve. So even with that, it's a really big plus for the wildlife conservation.
And so we will continue to upscale our conservation efforts so that the future generations can benefit from the benefits of the present conservation.
For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Now, moving on, small-scale traders along Ronald Ngala Street in Nairobi are decrying demolition of their shops and loss of property worth over 1.8 million shillings. They claim a tycoon used guns to bring down their shops in the middle of the night. Details of these and more in the county news briefs.
A section of traders in Nairobi's central business district are counting losses after their shops were demolished on Tuesday night. The angry business persons are blaming a city tycoon for the damage. The Nairobi Metropolitan Services has distanced itself from the incident.
Kuna watoto tunasomesha vichukuu, tutapeleka wapi? Ni mali imeenda. Tumeomba loan, sasa kulipa loan ni ngumu.
Meanwhile, a family in Nyamira County is seeking justice for their 14-year-old daughter who was allegedly impregnated by a 70-year-old man and abandoned. The man is said to have lured the minor with money when schools indefinitely closed in March last year due to COVID-19 pandemic.
Shule ninaenda, tunatuma karo ya shule, sina wa kunilipia mamangu na wao hachiwezi kunilipia. Na mtoto ni mdogo ananililia usiku na mchana, hata siwezi fanya kwa sababu mtoto anataka chakula akule na mimi naweza pata chakula nikule ndio nipate kitu cha kumpatia akule.
And in Kirinyaga, police are holding a high school teacher after he attacked his colleague in the staff room with machete in a suspected love triangle. Moya East Sub-County Police Commandant Daniel Kitavi confirmed the incident took place at Karoti Girls School after the two disagreed over a female teacher recently posted to the school.
Mmoja alikuwa na mapenzi na huyo mwanadada ambaye ni intern katika hiyo shule. Kukatwa na panga baada ya kupelekwa hospitali alikuwa admitted na nafikiri sasa hivi tunaongea anaendelea na matibabu.
Elsewhere, residents of Turkana County are set to benefit from health mobile clinics launched in the area by the regional government. Health CEC Jane Ajele says the project will ease the transportation burden on locals who have to travel for long distances in search of medical treatment.
tuweze kuwasaidia watu walikuwa wanapata matibabu kwa Kanam Sub-County Hospital ambayo ilikuwa converted to COVID center na imekuwa registered.
And Migori County Assembly Speaker Boaz Okoth wants the process of implementing the Building Bridges Initiative report hastened. Okoth says political rivalry is derailing handover of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 to Parliament.
Politics is our business. So if there are officers working within this county assembly that are being used by other politicians to malign the name of Migori County Assembly, then it is now administrative, and we'll ask the Speaker and his administration to take action.
Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
And on news making headlines in the business world, the SACCOS Society's regulatory authority wants senior managers of companies that fail to remit SACCO members' deduction held accountable. SASRA's CEO John Walker, who was before the Senate Committee on Trade, said the Cooperative Society Amendment Bill 2020 should have provisions where the senior management team of institutions be held liable for failed remittance that he says has seen some SACCOs face liquidity challenges.
The SACCOS Society Regulatory Authority is proposing that senior officials of organizations that fail to remit SACCO members' contribution punished individually, as most of them have been found liable of delayed or failed remittance. SASRA is proposing that a clause be introduced in the draft Cooperative Society Amendment Bill 2020 to prosecute signatories instead of the cumbersome process of suing an institution that fails to remit members' deduction to SACCOs.
That we request they go through this amendment, that the accounting officers be held responsible individually, because it's the individual actually responsibility. For universities, we are proposing vice chancellors, if they don't remit salaries together with the SACCO dues, they be held responsible. For county, the CECs in charge, they should be held responsible.
Ongoing task force work, which hopefully will do a further review of the legislation, we're actually looking at that aspect of criminal culpability and trying to see how we can hold people accountable beyond the current provisions, which appear to be rather benign.
Senators took issue with a clause giving the Cabinet Secretary in charge of cooperatives discretion of allowing or denying registration of new SACCOs, proposing that such power should be given to a tribunal to enhance accountability and transparency.
A cooperative that is trying to get registered, what recourse does it have? If they have validity to that, they have a genuine process and they have all that they are required to have, what happens to them? Are they just thrown out, or what recourse do they have?
Normally, it will be on the basis of valid reasons that arise from the requirements for that registration as prescribed for in law. So there will be a good reason.
Senators proposed that the cooperative director position be at the county level and not be tied to the respective county governor's term.
Just here, there is a definition of the county director of cooperative, implying therefore by your own amendment that this person is coming to play a very, very critical role. And therefore, the direction that we are taking in terms of allocating those specific roles becomes very, very key, and the discussion can move in that direction.
The technical services that has to be provided perpetually, not to be tied to the term of the governor. Because cooperatives has to continue running. We give them two functions, the two functions of the county cooperative director.
Senators further want auditing of SACCO books done at the county level and not be subjected to further scrutiny by the national government. Benson Drupa reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Business conditions in Kenya's private sector economy continued to improve in February, although the rate of expansion slowed to the weakest for 8 months. Stanbic Bank's Purchasing Managers Index report shows businesses reported that weak cash flow due to limited household and client spending that saw output only marginally rising amid a more modest increase in new order volumes. Despite these, purchase prices rose steeply due to a hike in VAT at the start of the year, which saw the headline Purchasing Managers Index drop to 50.9 in February, down from a reading of 53.2 in January.
The drop of the Purchasing Managers Index to a reading of 50.9 in February signaled the weakest rate of improvement in the 8-month run of expansion following the initial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Output and new orders continued to rise midway through the first quarter, but the rate of expansion softened, with the former indicating the weakest upturn in business activity for 8 months. Slower sales growth was related to a lack of cash flow in some sectors of the economy, leading to reduced customer spending and travel. New orders from foreign clients grew modestly and to the least extent since last June. Consequently, firms raised purchasing activity at the slowest rate in 6 months, leading to a more modest uptick in inventory levels. High competition among vendors drove an improvement in delivery times, although some firms reported delays on imported goods due to global supply shortages. Employment numbers increased marginally in February, with firms also seeing a softer rise in outstanding work. Moreover, to maintain current staff levels, some businesses cut workers' salaries, leading to the fastest drop in average wage costs in 7 months. Nevertheless, cost burdens were driven higher by another sharp increase in purchase prices. Companies blamed the uptick on a hike in VAT in January, exacerbated by material shortages and higher fuel prices. Business expectations for the year ahead dipped slightly in February, but remained above the level seen through the second half of 2020. About a third of surveyed firms expect output to rise. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
Moving on, the government has started disbursement of the 3 billion shillings tourism stimulus package meant to help businesses adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. Tourism and Wildlife Chief Administrative Secretary Joseph Boynet says the stimulus package is for renovating or upgrading facilities. Boynet says COVID-19 saw international arrivals reduced by 80%. Here is our coast reporter Michael Mondiga with the details.
Nearly a year after Kenya confirmed the first case of coronavirus, different sectors have borne the brunt of social-economic impact of the pandemic, with the tourism industry among the worst affected. Between March and June last year, some hotels temporarily closed, with some laying off their employees. Disbursement of the 3 billion shilling stimulus package has started, with Tourism and Wildlife Chief Administrative Secretary Joseph Boynet saying the coastal region earmarked to receive 1.2 billion shillings.
On another front, under the TSC, a sum of 3 billion shillings was allotted through the TSC, as I say, that was aimed at enabling our hospitality establishments to tide over the adverse effects of COVID, to enable them to recover and to enable them to take advantage when the rebound occurs.
Further mitigation measures include 1 billion shillings for engaging 5,500 community scouts to work in the Kenya Wildlife Service parks, and other 1 billion shillings to pay salaries for rangers working in the community conservancies.
This ministry is committed to supporting both the tourism and the wildlife departments, including the private sector, in carrying forth not only the mandate of this ministry, but in making their contribution towards nation building.
The government is calling on Kenyans to spearhead conservation of forests to mitigate the adverse effects of climate change.
Forests and wildlife play an important role in mitigating the effects of climate change, as they also provide a vital role in sustainable ecosystem management, as well as services that include clean water, provision of energy, building materials.
We face various threats to our forests, ranging from illegal logging, encroachment, overexploitation, overgrazing, forest fires.
They were both speaking in Shimoni, Kwale County during celebrations to mark the World Wildlife Day. The government has disbursed 1.2 billion shillings to help in reviving the tourism sector along the coastal region, which has been adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic since last year. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Shimoni in Kwale County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
Equity Group has signed a 16.5 billion shillings loan facility with the European Investment Bank and the European Union. The long-term loan facility is to support small and medium enterprises to recover, sustain and upscale the operation. Small businesses have been earmarked 6.5 billion shillings, while the remaining 10 billion shillings be loaned to agricultural ventures.
The cash would be for supporting small businesses which are still reeling from the impact of COVID-19. Equity CEO James Mwangi expressed the lender's commitment to keep the lights of the economy on by ensuring that farms and businesses remain open and sustain employment. He says the loan would finance enterprises under the Young Africa Works program, where Equity, MasterCard Foundation and the government are working to create 5 million jobs for women and young people through entrepreneurship over the next 5 years. The fund will see entrepreneurs, business and agricultural smallholders across Kenya financed to better withstand the economic challenges and business uncertainties caused by COVID-19. This is the third tranche for Equity Group that received $50 million from IFC in September and a $100 million facility from Proparco in October, bringing the total to 33 billion shillings, the credit flows and liquidity to small businesses. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
The national government has rehabilitated the KITUI airstrip, which comprised fencing, construction of a modern VIP section and a car park. KITUI County Commissioner John Ondengo says the airstrip, which is the gateway to South Kitui Game Reserve, will spur the region's economy by unlocking its potential for trade and tourism.
The national government has spent 19 million shillings to rehabilitate KITUI airstrip to meet the growing demand for affordable air transport and enhance connectivity with other parts of the country. Speaking during an inspection tour, KITUI County Commissioner John Odego said the rehabilitation works included fencing and construction of a modern VIP and public ablution blocks and a car park. He said the only remaining part is the runway, which would be upgraded soon to allow fixed wing planes to land and take off from the airstrip. The airstrip, that is a gateway to South Kitui Game Reserve, is expected to unlock the region's trade and tourism.
Itasaidia pakubwa kwa mambo ya tourism. Ujuavyo ya kwamba hapa Kitui tuko na National Game Reserves, tuko na Kitui South Game Reserve na tuko na Mwingi North Game Reserve. That circuit itakuwa vizuri wakati hii kiwanja itakuwa imeanza kufanya kazi.
Among the wildlife at the South Kitui Game Reserve are the Big Five.
And in the sports arena, the All Africa Youth Sports Center, to be built in Kenya, will be completed in March 2022 at an estimated cost of $180,000. The construction work will begin immediately following the signing of an MOU between the National Olympic Committee of Kenya and the county government of Nairobi, which provided the land in Roy et Novi.
Kenya will be the 38th country in Africa to have an All-Africa Youth Sports Center built after the signing of an MOU between the National Olympic Committee of Kenya and the county government of Nairobi, which gave the go-ahead for the commencement of construction works in Ruai. The land provided for free by the county government of Nairobi will see a multi-purpose sports center built to accommodate various sporting disciplines, including athletics, football and volleyball.
We want to assure you, like, we're going to give you like 100% of support, because I'm one of the people who have the youth at heart. We want to build our youth. We want to get them out of drugs, out of idleness, and I know this stadium will really make a great impact to our youth.
After the structure will be up and running, then we can be able now weigh and see how we can be able to say, yes, this is what we have seen one athlete represent the country in junior level, representing high school in the regional championships. That's what we want maybe to see.
The construction of the center will cost an estimated $180,000 provided by Olymp Africa and will be completed in March 2022.
We have basic sports programs that Olymp Africa is funding, which is football, athletics, and basketball, and volleyball, and all of those other sports, and wrestling also. And then all the sports can come from the community. If the community want to organize something, they can just come to us, and we will help them fund the program and organize it. So the basic is this general sport that we have, that we're funding, but then the community can have whatever they want to organize there, because it's their center at the end of the day.
The main objective of the center is to provide easily accessible sports for disadvantaged youth, as well as advance social development through sports. 37 other countries in Africa have already built such centers, including Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, DRC, and Tanzania, who have 2 centers.
The magical Kenya Open is scheduled for the 18th to the 21st of March at the Paris 71 Karen Country Club course. Now, history will be made when Isaac Mokoher becomes the first deaf golfer to participate in the East Africa's most prestigious tournament.
Born to a family that has had a close association with golf, playing at the magical Kenya Open is a dream come true for deaf Olympian Isaac Mokoher. The opportunity to participate at the prestigious golf event came after he won the Kenya Amateur Match Play Championship in September 2021 after defeating Jay Sandu 3-2 at the VetLab Sports Club.
I was so happy. I felt relaxed, and it was the first time that this qualified me to participate in Kenya Open. It's going to be my first time, and that made me very happy.
With the all involved in the tournament required to live in a bubble, Mokoher is mentally prepared for it.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. I don't think it's very important for me to interact with people because my focus is to win this championship. After that, I'll go back to interact with the people that I won't be able to get during the bubble play.
He has been spending time preparing for the event with the assistance of his brother Jeff Kubwa, who is a professional golfer.
Yeah, I feel I'm actually ready because, for example, I train a lot. And my brother here has also been really helping me, and I feel I'm ready.
Mokoher was born without a hearing impairment, but went deaf after battling a long bout of malaria.
And I also think the deaf or the people with disability can better participate with the other ordinary people, the regular people. Like myself, I've been playing with the hearing team all this while, and I feel it's really helpful than if you create a team for the persons with disability on their own. So interacting with other people will also be very important.
The magical Kenya Open will take place from the 18th to 21st of March, followed by the Kenya Savannah Classic on the 23rd to 26th of March. The events have a prize fund of €1 million each and will be played at the Karen Country Club.
Kenya Premier League champions Gor Mahia came from a goal down to clinch a 2-1 victory over Kakamega Homeboys in the Kenyan Premier League match played at MATUNGU Stadium in Kakamega. Chris Masinza gave the Homeboys an early lead in the 12th minute before Tito Okello leveled in the 57th minute. Silva Fonseca then added a second for Kogalo, a goal that enabled them to secure the 3 points. The win saw Gor Mahia remained in 12th place with 13 points, but with 3 games on hand. Tusker FC, who tops the league with 32 points, will face Ulinzi Stars this Friday. Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin tonight. Thank you for keeping us company. Well, for more news, check out our website at kbc.co.ke. My name is Jacky Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. Up next is Irene Muchoma with the weather updates. Have a good night.
Good evening. I hope you're well today, despite the dry weather conditions prevailing over most parts of the country. Tonight is no different. Dry weather conditions will persist across the country, and these are weather patterns that will also be experienced tomorrow. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. Sunny intervals will characterize most parts of the country Thursday during the morning hours, right from the northeastern to the northwestern, the Lake Basin region and western sector, the capital and counties around the region, the coastal strip, and also for you in the southeastern lowlands. And these are weather patterns and temperatures that will stretch towards the afternoon hours, apart from a few areas in Kakamega and Narok, where there will be showers accompanied by thunderstorms. The highest temperatures across the country will be experienced in Mandera at 38 degrees Celsius. For you in the capital, be prepared for highs of 27, and tonight you're experiencing highs of 14. And for residents in Kisumu, Thursday, you'll experience highs of 33 degrees Celsius. Let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Good night and a blessed day ahead.
Vera Beauty College. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika, and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration,